Today is Tuesday, July 15th, and this is the Wake Up Call from WUSF. I'm Sky LeBron. Today you'll hear how Florida is changing the way it accredits its universities, which could have big impacts on how higher education is run in the state. Plus some events for later this week you can have some fun at. And let's get things going first with the news headlines. Palestinian authorities say a 20-year-old Tampa man was beaten to death in Israel's West Bank on Friday. Now the family of Saifullah Musalet wants the U.S. to investigate. Authorities say he was visiting family there. After he was beaten, they say he was surrounded by settlers for hours who were blocking paramedics. His uncle, Hissam, spoke in Tampa yesterday.
His brother saw him take his last breath. He was just gagging because of the pain, because of the beating. I don't know what else to say. He was just like a regular kid.
Musalet was born in Port Charlotte and worked in Tampa at a family-owned ice cream shop on Bruceby Downs. Tawika Martin is a survivor of domestic violence. She's also a Valrico resident who created an organization called Annie Mae's Women of Courage. Martin says the organization takes domestic violence survivors on a cruise where they get therapy, painting classes, and resources to help them cope.
If anybody is triggered by anything, I made sure I have people in place to put us back together before we get off the ship. And also, it's a beautiful vacation, and they really already paid for it with their blood, sweat, and tears.
The organization is in its fourth year, and Martin says she would really like to open a shelter to help women recover. You can read her story right now at WUSF.org. Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed a bill to study the impact of A1 steak sauce on Florida's workforce. Oh, wait, sorry, I mean AI. That makes a lot more sense. But now DeSantis says the state is coming up with a plan to make sure it isn't taken over by AI.
We can't put our head in the sand and just say we're not going to deal with AI at all because it is becoming a fact of life. But, we can't just turn the reins over to a bunch of tech overlords. That doesn't work.
DeSantis didn't say much on what that plan looks like. Not sure if it's more of a workforce plan or an iRobot ex machina type plan. If you like orange juice or oranges or citrus, this story sucks. Florida's last citrus growing season was its worst since 1919-1920. The state approved about $125 million to help the industry this past legislative session. Lately, it's had to worry about hurricane damage and citrus greening. That's a really tough combo. We've seen big-time changes to Florida's higher education system over the last few years, and another one is on the way. The Florida Board of Governors decided last week to create a new accreditor. That's who audits universities, make sure their quality is at a certain standard. Politicians leading Florida say a new accreditor could help remove what they say is liberal bias from universities. WUSF's Douglas Soult has been covering this story for quite a while. He's here with me now. Doug, why should people care about a story like this? Accreditor really isn't a sexy word you hear a lot.
Yeah, accreditor is not a sexy word at all, Sky. Neither is accreditation, but this system is important. For students alone, having an accreditor means they can get financial aid, and an accreditor also can determine what they're taught and more. Florida has had beef with the current accreditation system for years. Governor Ron DeSantis, late last month, said he wanted a new accreditor. Ray Rodriguez is the chancellor of the university system. He's unhappy with Florida's current accreditor and others.
They are all focused on inputs and processes rather than outputs and outcomes. This approach, we believe, suppresses innovation and it punishes those who do things or try to do things differently.
5 other southern states are joining in on this effort to start things off, but there's an important point to be made. The federal government, specifically the U.S. Department of Education, has to approve this accreditor too. So we're still a few years from this accreditor being a viable option for state universities, but experts tell me that regardless, this is a huge, historic higher education shift. And simultaneously, critics are very worried. They say this could represent DeSantis infusing his own right-wing politics into universities, and they warn that could affect the credibility and reputations of state schools.
If you want to read more on that story, you can right now at WUSF.org. Doug, thank you so much for the time, man.
Thank you for having me, Sky.
It's a Tuesday, so here's some events you could plan for a little later this week if you have a free evening. At Florida Ave Brewing Company in Wesley Chapel tomorrow, there's Craft Brew Comedy. You got to be at least 21, and tickets are $15, but you can have dinner and, of course, drinks because it's a brewery. And what makes jokes funnier than a couple brews in the system? JJ Curry is headlining the event. He's been doing comedy in Tampa for over 10 years, so a true veteran of funny will be in the building. Also on Wednesday in St. Pete, Outcast Brewing Company is hosting an all-dog meetup. You can go out and make some friends, so why can't your dog? It's not breed specific, any dog is allowed. They'll also get some treats. There will be water stations if your pup gets too pumped up and needs to rehydrate. Plus, it's always fun to put a mix of dogs together and just see what happens. Usually some chaos, but some fun chaos. And in Lakeland on Thursday at Molly McHugh's Irish Pub, a Biz and Brew event from the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce. Go there, make some connections, play some pool or darts if that's your vibe. It's free, but you just have to register beforehand. That's the wake-up call from WUSF, but here's the big news. It won't be the wake-up call for much longer. We're renaming the podcast to be something more tied to this region, the Tampa Bay area, and we want your help. We have some names we're considering, and we want you to vote which is your favorite. Just go to WUSF.org/namethepod and pick the one you like best. I have my favorite on the list, but I'm not going to tell you which it is. Anyways, it takes just a couple seconds, and then boom, you've had an impact on how this pod is made. Thanks for helping out. But I digress. Have a terrific Tuesday, and we'll catch you tomorrow for another episode.